Ladies and gentlemen of whatever gender you prefer, welcome to another chat for the B3, the biennial of the moving image. My name is Johannes Grenzfurtner from Vienna, Austria. I'm an artist and filmmaker. Started an art group called Monochrome 30 years ago and have been doing a lot of crazy shit. And I guess that's why they always hire me here at B3 to talk to people. And it is a very, very big pleasure for me to be able to talk to Marc Tort Bielefeld today, especially because I'm a filmmaker and there are some really, really exciting topics that we are going to chat about today. So first of all, there's this wonderful German joke or trope that Bielefeld doesn't exist.
Yeah, right. Never heard of it before.
Your ancestors might be from Bielefeld. That does not exist, but you seem to exist.
Seems like.
And you're sitting there in Berlin. So welcome to the show. And so it's great to have you here because today we're talking about a very, very important subject, and it's green producing. So green filming in creative industries. And your backstory is that you've been working as an editor for 5 years, but then you had an epiphany and then you said, like, I need to change something. And tell us what actually happened? What made this change and what actually drove you into creating your wonderful website and project?
Yeah, hi, thanks for having me. I worked as an editor and mainly worked on commercials for big German brands. And I noticed how resources are wasted for commercials. Think of washing detergents or something like this. The commercials look the same for 50 years. There's a happy mummy washing some stuff, stainy clothing. And I couldn't imagine, or before I worked at a post-production, I couldn't imagine how much resources are used to make such videos, to make such commercials. For example, many times the whole production gets transported to South Africa because you can plan without rainy days and have very similar vegetation there. So the whole crew, a bunch, maybe 20, 30 people fly to South America. They have the shooting where they have maybe one scene out of the house, and that's why they moved everything there. So the mummy can hang up the freshly washed clothes.
The Milka chocolate commercials that are very known in Austria and Germany, they're all shot in New Zealand, in the Southern Alps. And they just fly the whole crew to New Zealand.
Yeah,
well, I mean, at the moment we have a problem with COVID, but what a waste of kerosene.
Yeah, right. And even for little things, if you need to have like a shoot of the Eiffel Tower, you can find found footage of the Eiffel Tower everywhere. You can license it for maybe $50, and you don't need to send a whole crew there to shoot it again, because for 200 years they are making shoots at the Eiffel Tower, and you can just buy in this kind of footage. This whole topic of wasting resources was really concerning to me. And what was the question? That's why I started to do it differently.
Yeah, and your project is called Spatz in der Hand, like the sparrow in your hand.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's the German saying. I think in Austria it's probably the same. It's better to have the sparrow in your hand than the pigeon on the roof. It's a funny saying. It means be happy with what you have instead of
Yeah.
looking for something you can't reach.
So, and how can I imagine that project? Is it like a stock footage website, or is it what do you do?
I'm more or less a one-man post-production, and I'm using a lot of stock footage, but not only. My goal is to reuse existing media instead of reproducing existing media. One big topic of stock footage is very important in this case, because in many cases you can produce new videos without the need of shooting anything.
Well, I guess your biggest enemies are production companies who just want to get a lot of money from their clients. I mean,
and the agencies.
And the agent. So I mean, in general, I would say that is the basic problem of 21st century modern capitalism, is that there are many players out there who just want to make money and don't care a lot about waste and squandering resources.
Or they are doing it on purpose. Like if a big company has a contract with a big agency, they try to spend more money every year so they can spend even more money the next year. And if many times money gets wasted on purpose just to legitimate the even higher budget of the next year. So yeah, it's terrible. It's like like cancer, like it's growing totally crazy.
And it's also a little bit different than, like in the commercial world, it's a little bit different than in filmmaking, because I have the feeling in filmmaking, everything has the budgets are so tight. You have to shoot something in 5 or 6 weeks. You don't want to have a big overhead. But in commercial businesses and making commercials, it seems like the money is never ending. Where is all that money coming from?
I don't know. But it's especially if you consider that the final product will be like a 20-second long video, and you are shooting for 10 days. The first time I edited a commercial, I was shocked because it was for a toothpaste, and I had like, I don't know, maybe 20 hours of footage, and it was for an 15-second toothpaste commercial. And I had like hundreds of takes of people putting toothpaste on the brush, and it's so crazy.
I mean, how you as an editor, how did you decide what is the best putting toothpaste on brush sequence they shot? Like, do you decide this then, or is there someone like sitting behind you and saying like, I like that?
Yeah. Sometimes it's like that. In many cases, the director decides, or I get pre-handed like notes, and they say, "Oh, check out take 33. It's the best one." But in this case, it was really my first real commercial job, and I had no idea. No one was around me, and no one was helping me. So I was like choosing like this. I just took anything, but it was totally fine. The customer was super happy. So yeah.
It's what Anna Herzog is always complaining about, that the young filmmakers always have like so much coverage. In your case, 20 hours of coverage that nobody knows. Makes his heart sink. But I mean, I guess that's also commercial production, and there's a lot of money. But I mean, so your kind of like your business proposal is, I can make you commercials, I can make you films, just like based on existing footage. So you save money. I can use my knowledge where to find footage, and then you hopefully have a couple of happy clients already. How does it work?
Yeah, it works pretty good nowadays. I started 2017. Back then, no one cared for the environment, it seems like. I don't know. But ever since, I don't know, like for 2 years or something, I have a voice and it gets heard. Yeah. What was the question? Sorry.
I'm just in general interested because your product or your service seems to be something that is so against the grain of the industry my question pretty much is like, does it work?
Yeah, it works, and I'm not targeting the customers maybe like the other agencies, because it works for me because I try to only work with customers I share values with. So for NGOs or for social entrepreneurs or something like that, and they understand what I do and why I do it, and it's cool to work with them. When I started, I tried to sell my product also to the industry, to the normal world, to the crazy normal world. And it was terrible because.
So what was the reaction? Like, did they say like, why would we do that, or?
Yeah, something like this. The only benefit is that we can help the environment. I don't get it. Yeah, it was like this. And
okay, so
also,
they're only thinking about it in terms of like something. So it's kind of like a do-gooder project. We're not supporting this, but are they not seeing that they could actually save money with this?
Yeah, they could, but I never engaged that, or I never wanted to sell this. I wanted to focus on the other stuff. So it is of course it saves money if you just buy stock footage of the like we had the Eiffel Tower instead of flying your crew there. But the people who are interested in only saving money for video production, I'm not interested to work with them. So we are like not meeting.
But can you see that there? I mean, if we look back, I mean, we just went through a pandemic. We are probably still right in it. Did you see a lot of change because of that? So did people suddenly appear at least to be more green conscious, or more thought about more economic approaches to that?
Yeah, I don't know if Corona was the major factor. I feel like ever since Fridays for Future started, the media and the echo, and I mean, at least every big company started greenwashing. They are not doing anything else but label everything green. But yeah, it's getting how do you say? They are getting conscious about that topic, and it's getting a bigger topic. And that's why there's a bigger need for sustainable services.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell us in general about green producing? Because I guess there are a couple of people watching this who are from the film industry or from media production, but there are also many people out there who have no idea about how films and media services are being produced. So what can actually be green about that, or what should be more green? Let's say.
Yeah, sure. There are like many obvious things, like in the green behavior in general. You avoid everything you can avoid. It saves. If we are talking maybe like of a CO2 budget, every transport, or if you buy something or send people somewhere, it all causes CO2 because fuel get burned, people get moved, and it takes resources to produce stuff that you buy. And if you can avoid more, the more you can avoid, the better it is. And if you can't avoid it, you can, for example, with equipment, you can lend equipment or buy secondhand. And of course, use renewable energies and renewable or eco-friendly services. For example, you can use a bank which is not giving money to fossil fuel companies. You can have green hosting. You can work paperless. And you can do CO2 compensation and all that stuff. So there are many things you can do to reduce and small the footprint of your production. And my extreme idea was I go even one step further and I don't even produce. I just use existing media. And just like I said, it's not only stock footage. Often it is media from the customers itself, because media, like many other products, are designed for, or many times are designed for a one-time usage, and then you throw it away. You, for example, take a product photo. You need a product photo for, I don't know, for Amazon or for something else. You produce that photo, put it there, and forget about it, and you never will do anything else with this photo. Or you have an image movie, you finish it up, you put it on YouTube and forget about it. And I'm like going through all this existing media and check out how we can combine it or reuse it in some intelligent way to maybe transmit a new message with it. Or yeah, that's what I'm trying.
So you're also, like, in a certain way, an archivist. You're creating an archive of material,
right.
of going through material. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. It's a form of recycling, but it's digital recycling. And you wouldn't think about recycling because digital stuff is, like you copy it, and I mean, we always reuse digital stuff, but people are not thinking about it in that way. So it's really encouraging.
Yeah, and what people also don't think about are the real world consequences of our digital life. Like my one of the best examples is Netflix. It's everybody uses it and or streaming in general, and it's mainly powered by fossil fuels. So it's totally crazy. You sit there lying on your couch watching a movie, and CO2 gets emitted like crazy. It's totally.
It's almost like you're watching a diesel generator all the time.
Yeah, right. It's totally strange. Yeah, and
I mean,
it's super hard to make these connections.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like the digital world seems so clean, but no,
Yeah.
it is very much rooted in. I mean, and I'm not even talking about the hardware aspect of it, where all the stuff has to be mined somewhere in the Congo and people are dying because of it. So there's like the hardware component to it. Yeah,
right.
But even just like the sheer, like the content that's coming in, it's not coming from nowhere. It's in big data centers, big server farms, and of course they are being run by energy. So because all the people are complaining about Bitcoin all the time, and of course there's a lot to be complained about Bitcoin. But I mean, we all have our
personal
like
Bitcoin
mining stations at home when we're watching Netflix. Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. And even stock footage, it's not perfect because most of the times the stock footage providers, they are not very transparent about their energy use or what kind of energy they use. It's super important to notice or to learn. For me, it was so important. We live in a imperfect world, and it's not possible to make a perfect, clean thing. It doesn't matter how hard you try. There's always like a downside on everything. But the encouraging thing is that we don't need one person or 10 people to do everything perfectly correct, but we need billions of people who are trying hard. So this is the difference.
Yeah,
and you
and I
can't
mean,
do
yeah,
it correctly.
yeah, and humans are economical beings. So like
Mm.
we think, and that is the problem most of the time, that we only think in our own best interest.
Yeah,
It's so
right.
hard to kind of like project it onto the world. I can't all the time think about the best interest of the world. But if the
No,
best interest of the world and the best interest for myself somehow align, then that's the perfect
right,
outcome, you know.
right.
And yeah, so tell us about a couple of the projects that you've already realized, or like, I'm not sure if
Yeah,
you can actually talk about your customers, or I don't know if they want you to talk about
right.
it, but tell us a little bit about your success story, let's call it in jargon.
Yeah, let's call it success story. Yeah, yeah, it's totally different from. Uh, or first of all, yeah, I don't work on feature films, but on videos, and on this kind of videos you see everywhere and you don't think about usually. Um, um, for example, for products, one video I just realized, I think this year, was for a product called Hautfarben Buntstifte, skin color pens,
Pencils.
no, pencils,
Pencils.
skin,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, skin
Yeah,
color pencils.
colored pencils. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a cool product because, yeah, in I have a little daughter and I know it because in every pencil case there's just like this one pen for skin color, and it's usually pig color, and it's not brown or yellow or something, and that's why some people sort of like a whole bunch of pencils in many different skin colors, and it's pretty cool. So you can draw your friends like how they actually look like. That's that was their claim. And they also had like super nice pictures of their products. I animated them and combined them with stock footage to build an ad for Instagram. Uh, that was one of the projects. Another one I'm currently working on is for the WWF, for the young WWF, the young people. They have like a little undergroup there. And they just did a cleanup walk here in Germany. So they go on a tour for 5 days or something, 10 to 15 people, and take every rubbish they can find on the streets and collect it and bring it to the right places. And in this case, I made like a little documentary video. And there's another thing I'm just using more and more, because in this case, the young people filmed on their own with their smartphones, because this is also like a resource everybody has in the pocket, and you can today it makes so good pictures or good enough to for many purposes. So they filmed everything as they were cleaning the streets, and I got the footage and produced the video out of it. Yeah, and there are like so many scenarios where it's so easy to produce a video without using many resources.
Mhm. So what I find interesting is that you take footage that was already made for some companies, you know, like they had like an archive, uh, and so and what's always so frightening for me also a filmmaker is that most of the time when I think about something, I want to use stock footage or whatever it is, it's always a copyright problem. So you always run into like who owns the licensing rights for something? Like how much
Yeah,
money do you
really?
have to pay for what kind of license on the stock footage site? So, for example, you have a company and they have internally in their archives pictures of like pencils or whatever they have, but sometimes those pictures were made by photographers or by
Sure.
videographers.
Yeah.
And so the copyright is technically with them, or is it with so do you run into licensing issues like that a lot?
No, I'm very aware of it, and that's why I only use footage I really know that I can use it. And in the case of the pencils, we know the photographer, and we asked him, and it was okay. So you always have to get it on paper that you are really allowed to use the footage.
Yeah, because for me, that's one of the most like strange like hindrances of like creativity is that there's so much material out there, but you can't touch it because you might run into like a copyright claim or end up in court or something like that.
Yeah, but yeah, of course, in most cases it's totally true. But there are many ways to find footage you can actually use. I even participated in workshops where I gave out some on that information, and yeah, it's not too hard to find the right licenses, the right search words to find good footage you can use.
Yeah, I wish I would be probably as good a searcher as you about that stuff
I
because
can
it's
provide you with
just so.
some links if you
Oh
want.
yeah, absolutely. And we can even put that like down here afterwards because I mean there's
Yeah,
so many
maybe.
people out there who probably think the same thing. They say like, "Wow, why? I mean, why don't I just like
Sure.
Google and find a public domain image of it or some
Yeah.
public domain video?" But then, is it really public domain? Is it just, or maybe it's mislabeled on Google or something like that? Or then the opposite. You go to Pond5 or some stock footage site, and there is obviously public domain material on that site. I mean, I know it for
Mhm.
sure, uh, and people still sell it for like
Mhm.
$100 or something like that because
Mhm.
people always want to cash in, on
Sure.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot. Oh my God, I don't even know where to
Yeah.
start about that.
You always have to be reasonable. Even if you see something, you can buy some media for 10 euros, and then you see, I don't know, it's maybe from The Simpsons or from I don't know, from a famous brand. Of course, they won't have the rights to sell it to you. Or you have a Star Wars scene for 10 euros. Of course not.
No.
Yeah, yeah. It's much more expensive.
So what is the best way to actually like first of all get in contact with you? I assume like on your website. That's the easy part. Like, but how do you choose your clients?
Mm.
So if someone comes to you, so are you really very specific about I'd like to work? Are you really like picky?
Yeah, it's no. I'm more or less. I'm doing what I think is good, and
Mhm.
it's funny sometimes if people come in who are interested, and but we don't share the same values, and I tell them, okay, I probably don't want to work with you. It's so funny in a world where you can buy everything and you just have to spend enough money, and everybody will do everything for you, to have that feeling, oh, I can buy this. It's like, I think it's very unique, this approach.
Yeah, I mean you're kind of like in an exclusive club of your own,
Yeah,
and
yeah, right.
you can pick who you let into the club.
Yeah, right.
But in the end, I mean, I guess because as a business, of course, you want to grow. I assume because we all have to.
No.
Like, that's the downside of capitalism. Like we all have to
Mm.
pay for our rent. We don't get it for
Yeah.
free. So is there like in general a problem with green businesses? Because I mean, even for green businesses, there is like the glass ceiling where growth is not possible anymore, or like how do you see yourself? More like as a shining example or something like that? I don't know.
No, not really. I'm really just trying to push ideas that I think are important, and I don't try to grow. I don't want to have a big office or employees or stuff like this. It's more like my approach to find my spot in this world, or to be happy with my work and be proud of it. And someday I can tell my daughter, look what I've done. And no, I'm really not aiming towards growing or making a lot of money, but obviously you in the social sector you can't do a lot of money, but it's totally cool with me.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of like you're trying to be uh, you're trying to live a sustainable life, uh,
Yeah,
at least in some parts.
and this is or my Spatz in der Hand, or my idea is constantly evolving and changing, and this is one of the biggest things I ever came across, was who I'm working for, or which ideas am I spreading. So because I think this is the even more important tile of green producing, is not how you produce it. Of course, it's important, but if you use a piece of paper in your paperless workflow, it's not as bad as doing a video for to spread ideas that are terrible or that are harming people. Um, and I think you, Johannes, also are like a little lefty, and
Yes, yes.
uh, you
Very
know what I mean.
very
Yeah,
lefty.
yeah.
No, other way.
uh,
There.
yeah. And yeah, I try to work against capitalism and against all these ideas. I don't think they are good for us.
Yeah. I mean, at least I try to see where it makes. There are certain things where reforming something is definitely worthwhile.
Mm,
On the other hand, there are certain things where I have the feeling of like you have to be a little bit careful what
mm,
what is being sold to you as green, or what is
mm.
being sold to you as something that is just like making you feel better.
Yeah,
And the difference
and
between
it
something that makes you feel better and something that is actually good, there is always a big
yeah,
difference. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And the honest seller will tell you that the most sustainable way is not buying anything, because green buying is like a little legend. Not buying anything, avoiding to buy stuff is the most sustainable, or reusing existing stuff. So
yeah.
yeah,
And
if
it
you
also
want,
depends on the context. I mean, sometimes people always say like use your renewable stuff or use glass bottles or something like that. But
mm,
I mean, in specific contexts, it's actually more worthwhile to use something completely different, something that is also counterintuitive. I mean, there's this whole
totally.
story. Yeah, there's this whole story a friend of mine told me. So it depends on the context. For example,
Mm,
I mean, if you're talking about Amazon, Amazon is
mm,
not a sustainable a company that's interested in sustainability
no.
at all. Of course, yeah. I mean, they're like one of the biggest global players there is. At the same time, a friend of mine is a professor of economics in Washington D.C., and he told me the story that uh, if you buy a book at Amazon in the U.S., uh, it's actually wasting like the transport of the book coming to you via mail or via Amazon transport is actually less resource wasting than if you get as a classic American in your car and drive to the shopping mall and buy the book at the shopping mall and
Mm,
drive home again. Because
mm.
Amazon, of course, is interested that the transport from them to your house is
Super efficient.
as efficient as possible. And
Mm,
of course, that is something good in general for the environment. But Amazon
sure.
is not a green player. So there are these
No,
like
no,
strange mechanisms in global commerce that are
sure.
completely counterintuitive. And of
Yeah,
course, I'm not a
it's
supporter of Amazon, but at least I'm happy that like not a million of people have to drive with their cars to the bookstores. But then also the
Right.
bookstores are dying. Where do we
Yeah.
start?
You can never do it right. That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I
Um,
mean, I guess as long as you are aware that something
yeah.
has to change and something, and you have to think about certain outcomes of your existence, I guess that's a good thing.
Sure. Yeah. And yeah, and to see it like holistically, to uh, yeah, to have an overview. And yeah, often the personal consumption of people is in such a focus that, you know, you I don't know, if someone eats meat or something, and everybody goes crazy about it. But yeah, the system is the problem and not the person. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the global ship commerce, the transport of these like giant, like floating islands that transport our containers from Asia to Europe or to the
Yeah.
US. I mean, those giant ships, they produce more dirt than the cars of the planet, like the
Yeah,
individual
right.
cars. And but
Mm.
people don't think about it. So it's so. But how do you change that? How do you go and say like, well, we should stop global commerce? It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But at some point, I hope there is at least a certain like economic beings. Like maybe at some time, oil is so expensive and so precious that we just can't afford it anymore. The
But we
question is
don't
like if we
have
kill the
time
planet
to.
before that. Yeah, we don't have time.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. I would love to wait it out, or everybody would love to wait until it's so expensive no one can buy it anymore. But until then, we are fried.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely,
really like
absolutely. So, like,
uh,
but talking about like Extinction Rebellion and all these groups and Fridays for Future, you mentioned that before. So, are those organizations or people that are active in those communities coming to you, or are you going to like conferences organized by those groups or something like that?
yeah, I go to them. I'm not as famous that they come to me, but yeah, I also worked for Fridays for Future and for other organizations. Yeah,
Absolutely. Now that's great. I mean, I guess I hope we can help spread the idea. But
yeah,
are there
hopefully.
things that you say, like, except of course, going to you and chatting to you about their projects? Are there things in green producing or in green filmmaking that you also kind of like want to put an emphasis on? Something that is also important.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, I can maybe like try to, or I try to make my biggest point, especially for, I know many filmmakers are watching, and they are the young professionals watching. And yeah, like I said, I think it's so important, especially in feature film, or in that the vision you show has a huge impact on reality. You can draw a vision of diversity and responsibility and a good world, and it influences our society. I think besides of how your film is made, it's so important what message your film is transporting or submitting, or um, giving out into the world. And yeah, of course, I just said, of course, there are millions of things you can do to reduce the footprint of your production, and you should do everything. Um, but it's even more important because um, it doesn't help if you make a super eco-friendly video and to sell burgers for McDonald's or something. It doesn't help. So the idea you put out should be a good one too.
Mhm. Yeah, so like the how you create something and what the content of that creation is, of course
Right. Yeah.
matters. Yeah. Are there organizations or individuals out there that you want to give a shout out to? So groups that you know of that might be specifically interesting for filmmakers?
Groups who are interesting for filmmakers.
Or for example, if you like, if you know production companies that are known for being very green in their production administration or something like that.
I don't know.
Okay, I mean that says a lot because you've been digging into that world a lot, and nothing comes
Yeah,
to
but
mind.
yeah, but in this terms, I'm not working too much with other media productions. So usually it's just me and the customer, and I'm doing all the. And I work with people like me who are working on their own, like freelancers, and I think there are several, especially in Berlin. Yeah, but I take shout-outs very serious. I don't give away.
I understand. You only want to get the message out for people that you think you deserve it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
if anyone actually is like, why does he not know us? We are this really great company and we're doing things. Put it into the comment section. You can
Yeah,
complain in the comment section that you
call me.
didn't give him a shout out or call
Yeah.
him. Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's great. That's great. So the B3 in general is the biennial of the moving image, but of course we're also interested in kind of new technologies and new ways of filmmaking, like not only content but also technology, like like 360-degree stuff and virtual reality stuff and all kinds of new media that are emerging. I mean, most of the new media are already like 30 years old, so but they are really like new
Right.
media of the new media
3D.
emerging.
Yeah.
And do you think that like green producing or green thinking should actually go into thinking about new forms of media in general?
Into new forms of media. Yeah, but I think
So, for example,
it's
because I mean, there are people, for example, working in virtual reality
yeah.
systems or doing virtual reality films. It's not mainstream yet, so it's not going there. But I mean, but there might be an explosion of that kind of forms of formats in the future. And I mean, maybe we are still at the point where we can change the course of that history, let's say.
Yeah, I think there are many like innovations already happening that could have a good effect on topics like sustainability, but at the moment it's more by accident than really planned. You also can find stock footage of 360 degree videos. And there are many technologies for apps where you can animate photos. I don't know if you have seen it. There's like, it's going everywhere where you can take pictures of people and make them sing and dance or stuff like this. And for my use cases, this is pretty cool because you take like one medium, you take a photo and recycle it into a video. So you don't have to shoot a photo and a video. You take everything from this one file. So you can use it in a green way to recycle media, but it's not the main purpose. It's really more like by accident.
Yeah. No, absolutely. There are so many tools that you can use. I mean, you never know what the digital footprint or of those tools is, like what server farms you're
Right.
firing up by using them. I think that
Right.
might be in the future like an interesting idea of having something like like on organic products in Germany. We have this like
The
grüne
ABCD.
Punkt. Yeah.
Something
So
like that.
the grüne Punkt, maybe something like the grüne Punkt, the green point in Germany, where you see that's a very eco-friendly product. if
Yeah.
it's true. Maybe something for
Yeah.
the digital world, that a specific app is only using a very efficient server farm or something like that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Transparency about it. It
Mm.
would be enough to see how much energy comes from renewables and from fossil fuels.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are so many labels already. I see labels everywhere, but it seems not to help. I don't think so. But I don't know what else does. But
Yeah. I guess
yeah,
most of those labels are fakes anyways. It's just like
yeah,
companies make up their own little
yeah, like internal
label.
labels.
It's just
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. But
Oh
it
my
looks
God.
green and it confuses the people. You can have stamp your own 3 green labels or something. Yeah, terrible.
Yeah. No, I think that people are more aware about that stuff, and I mean, we have the information at our fingertips, that we said in the
Yeah,
90s.
sure.
Like, so you can't just like find out if a label is worthwhile or not. But in
Mm,
general, you have to have an active thinking audience, or
mm,
pool of consumers for that kind of stuff. If you don't give a shit
yeah,
about it, then you don't give a shit about it. So as
yeah,
long as it doesn't help you personally. So that is, I
yeah,
guess, the problem we have. But I mean, I'm so
right.
happy that I could talk to you and to give us a little bit of an insight on how it could work, and how a better world might be possible. And I'm
Yeah,
very happy. So kudos to you that you're actually trying to do it. And I've not met her yet, but all my best wishes to your daughter,
oh,
who
thank you.
might benefit from what you're doing in the future
Yeah, I
by
hope
not
so.
drowning
Yeah,
or something like that. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you, Johannes. Thank you for having me. And yeah,
absolutely, it was a pleasure, and all the best wishes from the B3 team, and hope to see you in the future.
thanks.
Thank you.